Good morning. Before we officially begin, just a few public safety reminders. If you're not speaking up here up front, please keep your mask on during our service, covering both your nose and your mouth. And please remain socially distanced during our time together. You'll see that the seats have been separated for households, and we ask that you maintain that distance if you're moving around the room at all. We are so glad you are here. And as best we can, let's keep each other safe. Now let's prepare for worship. For those who don't yet know me, I'm Caitlin O'Brien, Associate Minister, and I want to offer a heartfelt welcome, along with Nick Evento, our liturgist this morning, a heartfelt welcome to those worshiping with us online, and for those of us worshiping here in the sanctuary, many of you for the first time in a long time. We are treading carefully and lovingly on new sacred ground together. In the past 18 months, we have relearned that community can be such a lifeline for us. And it is in that spirit that I say, welcome to All Souls, where all souls are welcome. You are joyfully called to worship. In honor of the Jewish days of awe, which ended on Thursday evening, Yom Kippur, the Sabbath of Sabbaths, please join me and Nick in humming our opening hymn, Shabbat Shalom. Nick and I will sing the lyrics.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
Beautifully done. May this Sabbath restore us.
Turn 2 pages. As we prepare to pass the peace, I invite those in the sanctuary to turn now to the camera behind Jesse and wave to the souls with us online this morning. And for greeting one another here, we ask that you remain in place and simply wave or nod or raise enthusiastic eyebrows to one another as we pass the peace.
As Nick lights our chalice, please speak with me the words in our order of worship. To live fully is to be always in no man's land, to experience each moment as completely new and fresh. Amen. Thank you, Nick. And we light a peace candle this morning for the 10 Afghan civilians confirmed this week to have been wrongly targeted and killed by an American drone. They join a list of nearly 50,000 Afghan civilians who've been killed since the war began in 2001. May we be not only heartbroken by these deaths, but also accountable as a people. Let us say amen. Amen. Thank you, Nick. Well, today is the first day of faith formation programming for children and youth in the new church year. And we'd like to share with you the covenanting that took place between Perry and Regina, our children and youth, our volunteer teachers, and board members who in the covenanting are representing you, the congregation. Let's take a listen and a watch.
Before the pandemic, when explaining what a covenant is, I would say it's an agreement on how we want to be together. Of course, I meant that as how we wanted to interact and what the parameters of the space would be. But in the last year and a half, so much has changed about the how we are together and the spaces in which we meet that I would describe a covenant a little differently. Our covenant speaks to the ways in which we see ourselves in the group and what our relationships are with one another. The dynamics and the how we come together are changing, but the meaning of our connections and our concern for each other has only deepened. In that regard, we approach everything we do at All Souls in the context of a welcoming community where everyone matters and each person has a responsibility for creating a fun, caring space no matter what form that space takes. With that in mind, we covenant with our faith formation teachers.
This morning, we thank you for your commitment to our children and youth. We appreciate your presence as another concerned adult in their lives.
There is joy and meaning in being a guide and mentor to young people in this faith community. This is sacred work that is about your spiritual growth as well. We, that's you and I. We covenant to support and appreciate you.
We covenant to be present to these young souls, guiding their way and showing concern for each of them. We covenant to bring our best selves to the children and youth whom you place in our care.
With our children's faith formation, we thank you for the ways that you will care for their well-being and strengthen their character. We covenant to appreciate you and to support at home the experience that takes place here.
Children and youth,
Thank you for being our teachers. We promise
to do our best together.
and we have our board members, Sally and Danielle. Sally is the president of the board, to speak the congregation's part in the ritual.
We honor the path you have chosen to serve our congregation. We thank you for sharing your presence and the good news of our faith with our children and youth. We covenant to support and appreciate you.
And we all say thank you and amen. All right.
Amen. May it be a meaningful and joyful first day. We offer every good wish to the circles of learning and spiritual growth that surround us. And speaking of circles of learning and spiritual growth, Kate Treadwell Hill wanted to share with you her experience in sharing circles here at All Souls. Circles are starting up again this fall, and Kate would like to just take a moment to tell you how great they are. So let's take a listen to Kate.
Good morning. I'm Kate Treadwell Hill. I've been a member of All Souls for more than 20 years, so I think that qualifies me to be called an old soul. I joined the first sharing circle in 2004 when they first began, and I've been participating in one ever since, except for 1 year when I couldn't work it into my schedule, to my sorrow. So I think that makes about 16 years worth of sharing circles. If I've been doing it for that long, there must be something about it. One of the things about it is that it's an unparalleled opportunity to get to know new people outside of one's regular circle. And also, it's a wonderful opportunity to get to know another side of people whom one has known for years. It's also a great opportunity for learning how to do deep listening. This was a big challenge for me because I always want to fix things. I always want to bust in and say, oh, this is what you do. But with practice, I've gotten better at it, and it's a skill that's really worth learning. For years, we met in person, either in somebody's living room or in one of the spaces at All Souls. And of course, it was wonderful. Then COVID came along, changed everything, and made us go to Zoom. I am not a very sophisticated computer type person at all, but I had no trouble converting to the Zoom format. I'm very much looking forward again to being able to meet in person, but in the meantime, we have another round of Zoom sessions coming up soon, and I'm hoping to see you there.
Thanks to Kate for sharing from the heart about the power and the depth of our sharing circles. Those of you in Unity Hall received a survey on your way in, and that's to give the sharing circles leaders a sense of interest and so forth. So please fill it out whether or not you are interested in participating in a circle, and you'll put those in the baskets with the ushers on your way out this morning. And for souls worshiping online, we ask that you contact Carol Irwin at sgm@allsouls.net if you are interested in participating in a sharing circle this fall. So I'd like to offer a guided meditation instead of a reading this morning, so you could consider it a form of reading inward. I offer this as a way to loosen our grip a little and give yourself a dose of groundlessness, a dose of maybe holding things lightly. And once we've settled some, I'm going to share words from various faith traditions that invite us to acknowledge that the ground is always moving and shifting beneath us, and that we're better off when we accept that. I invite you to close or rest your eyes and settle into the spot where you are. Notice your feet. Are they touching the floor? Can you feel your socks or your shoes? Notice the sensations of your feet from the inside out. And now notice places in your body where you may be holding tension. And with the rhythm of your breath, watch some of that tension dissipate because of your caring attention. Now lower your shoulders away from your ears. sense the space that you are giving yourself. And now visualize expansiveness. What does expansiveness look like for you? And hear now these words from sacred texts. From the Hindu Upanishads, chapter 6. The mind flies off in every direction, and when it cannot find a resting place anywhere else, it alights back upon the breath itself. For the mind is tied to the breath. From the Hebrew Bible, Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to get, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. Surah 27 of the Quran. Now you see the mountains, thinking they are firmly fixed, but they are traveling just like the clouds. The Tao Te Ching, chapter 59. The mark of a moderate person is freedom from her own ideas. She has no destination in view and makes use of anything life happens to bring her way. Nothing is impossible for her because she has let go. From this place of expansiveness that you have given yourself, I invite you to return your awareness to this room. Every Sunday we pause to pay attention to the joy and sorrow that we experienced in the week just past. You may share via email to beloved community at allsouls.net, or in the book in our lobby, which I think is still in our lobby right now maybe. So I apologize that I won't be able to share. We will share the...
I just want to say that I didn't bring it down because no one signed up.
No one has written anything in the book. Thanks, Joyce. You can share via email or in our book or on the YouTube chat during the Sunday service. I want to say that Mary Drake shared last week in the book, blessings for the joy of being together in person when we can. And the Eventos share and ask that we keep Claire's brother in our prayers as he's going through a difficult time. They also share that Carrie Evento turns 99 on October 8th. And so we send much love to the Evento family as they move through the many dimensions of family life. And now, if you are at home or here in Unity Hall, you're invited to light a candle of intention. You may come forward and light a candle here, and please be aware of maintaining healthy spacing as you approach the candles. Together we find ourselves holding the anxiety in our world and in our lives. We hold those who are ill or injured, and we hold their caregivers. We hold celebrations and gratitudes, and we simply hold each other as best we can. Let us share silence. We will remain seated and close this circle by singing a song written by a religious teacher and composer, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. Please hum along with me and Nick to Return Again.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Amen. Thank you, Nick. I was in college when I first learned how to drive a stick shift car. A friend was teaching me. I remember we were listening to Fleetwood Mac CD at the time. Very kind of rite of passage in my life. The interplay between the gas pedal and the clutch is such a humbling learning curve. Get it wrong and you're revving the engine embarrassingly loud, or the car is slamming to an abrupt stop. I think the philosophies we try to live by are kind of like that too. They have to be kept in balance. Take, for example, the philosophy of having strong boundaries, appropriate boundaries, and the philosophy of having an open heart. You can see where either one could dominate to our detriment. They're best applied together, listening for their healthy interplay in our lives. Push a little of one, let go a little of the other, maybe hold each lightly. Every idea or goal or attitude needs a dose of this tempering. As someone once said to me, everything in moderation, including moderation. This month's worship theme is resilience. And for me, this is a dynamic concept whose opposite is rigidity. If you're rigid, you can't be resilient. The biggest obstacle to my own resilience is my stubborn fixation on how things should have gone, how things really could have gone. If you're like me, you've wasted all kinds of brain cells and times in that mental space. It's like we're nailing ourselves to a piece of ground that we were so sure of, and we won't move on. I've shown you this picture of me before at age 4. There I am, standing on the table, pouting, hands in my my bell bottoms, and I've got my hands stuffed in my jacket. And the reason was, that morning, too much oatmeal, not enough liquid. The ratio was off. The ratio was off. I think the picture speaks for itself. To me, resilience is about flexibility and cultivating some kind of acceptance of expansiveness and groundlessness. As Pema Chodron, the author of our Chalice lighting words, said, to be fully alive, fully human, and completely awake is to be continually thrown out of the nest. I know that may sound harsh, but I take some comfort in its honesty. It's true. Don't waste my time trying to tell me otherwise. Talk to me about what is. Charles Chalice was one of my favorite professors in divinity school. He taught Buddhist ethics. And in a recent interview, he refers to a disposition called the cold eye. Seeing life as it is and not flinching, not wishing things to be otherwise, not redescribing what you're looking at, just simply seeing it with a cold eye. And then, yes, doing what is needful. Back to the stick-shift car metaphor, I think that a gas pedal is necessary, but not sufficient for a meaningful life. You also need that tempering influence. You need the clutch. For me, that's some cold eye. For me, that's some holding it lightly. However I can get there. Chodron says, when we make things wrong, we do it out of a desire to gain some kind of ground, some kind of security. Equally, when we make things right, we're trying to gain some kind of ground and security. She promotes what she calls a middle way, where we take in a sense of groundlessness and we let it loosen our grip some. Now here comes my social justice disclaimer. This is not to say that we just let things be that are not fair. We look with a cold eye. We breathe in the groundlessness that is our tempering influence, and then, yes, we do what is needful. It's just that we can't tell ourselves that things are only okay, that this world is only home if we're in control of it. Can't tell ourselves that. I've been very drawn to the concept of equanimity in recent years, where you're seeking a neutral state of mind across all experiences. The Sanskrit word for it in the Buddhist tradition is upeksha. You try to approach life with neither clinging nor aversion as you face what some Buddhists call the 8 worldly conditions: loss and gain, good repute, ill repute, praise and censure, sorrow and happiness. But it's really hard to keep a neutral inner vibe through experiences that on the surface are not at all neutral. I remember getting really, truly mad at Pema Chodron while reading her book a couple years ago. She was discussing non-attachment, and I felt like she was downplaying my problems. Worse than that, I felt like she was reaching out of that book to take away my delight. I didn't want to feel detached when hearing a beautiful piece of music. I didn't want to feel non-attached to an amazing meal. But I think this is one of those cases where it's not all or nothing. It's the gas and the clutch. We're meant to experience things fully, but maybe not get so attached to them Maybe not be so defined by them. As Mary Oliver said, and we all love this one, to live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. Maybe that's a middle way. Well, I've made a decision. I'm going to stretch towards equanimity, knowing I can only pull off so much of it because of the utter inconvenience of being an ordinary human. Maybe it takes only a certain percentage, though, of equanimity or that middle way to temper my gas pedal, enough to lower my blood pressure, enough to have more harmony with others, enough to call this world home, enough to move forward. And you know, a dose of equanimity can also take some pressure off the big decisions in our life, help us to hold them more lightly. Some time ago, a guest preacher here at All Souls shared Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. Everybody's familiar with this poem. A congregant came up to me afterwards and said that he'd read a book that revealed to him that Robert Frost was actually joking in this poem about the idea that one path or another would make all the difference in one's life. You maybe already knew this, but I did not. So I read the recommended book, and it does turn out that Frost had written the poem for a poet friend of his who struggled with indecision. When they'd go for a walk, his friend would perseverate over which path would be best. His name was Edward Thomas. So Frost wrote the poem to make light of the pressure we put on ourselves to choose the right path, as though more than one good and worthy path were not possible. So let's take a listen to this poem that so many of us feel we know well, and let's hear it as less earnest, more playful.
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had warned them, really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Well, maybe.
Thank you, Nick. So yeah, Frost apparently complained to his indecisive friend after he'd read this poem to a group of college students in 1915. He said it had been, quote, taken pretty seriously, despite my doing my best to make it obvious by my manner that I was fooling. Instead of being a tribute to individualism and purpose, gas pedal, that last line was actually meant to elicit a laugh among friends. Because of course, we can't say with any certainty that a decision makes all the difference. Pema Chodron would say that's just us trying to gain ground. Frost is mocking the way that we sometimes tell the story of our lives as if our choices are so sacred and so significant. We're so attracted to ideas of perfection and best case scenarios and soulmates and dreams come true. You might say I'm a downer, but I think this is nowhere more evident than in our culture's narratives around romantic love. There's the final scene in the movie where the lead character is always somehow running through an airport to try and stop their love from leaving, because their leaving would be the end of love forever. And then there's the vibe in so many wedding ceremonies that the perfect love has been found. Talk about pressure. How many of us weighed the attributes of a mate to ask if they were truly the one? What does that even mean? I think the world is so much more shapely than that. The world is so much bigger and more shapely than that. My dad said something when I was going through a breakup as a young adult. He said, "There's no one right person, Kate, but there's a right time." I know it doesn't sound poetic, but I took comfort in his honest, cold eye. Again, talk to me about what is. Talk to me about what is. And that's why I got such a kick out of this wedding scene in a TV show, Master of None. Comedian Aziz Ansari and his girlfriend, they're at a wedding, and the bride and groom have just exchanged vows about how they know they've made the perfect choice and how they know that they complete one another. And the camera pans around the congregation, and couples are like moving awkwardly in their seats and kind of squirming and wondering, are we that kind of sure thing? And so Aziz Ansari's character kind of drifts off and starts to daydream about more honest vows, you might say, with a cold eye. He imagines the minister saying,
Do you, Dev, take Rachel to be your partner in a possibly outdated institution in order to have a quote unquote normal life? Are you ready to give up an idealistic search for a soulmate and make it work with Rachel so you can move forward with your life?
I do, says Dev, with a very matter-of-fact expression on his face.
And do you, Rachel, promise to make a crazy eternal bond with this gentleman who you happen to be dating at the stage in your life when people normally get married?
I do, says Rachel, calmly smiling into her groom's eyes. They kiss, and the violins play. It's exaggerated for humor, but this scene really struck me. I watched it over and over. It points to the holding lightly that our culture could maybe use a dose of when it comes to choosing life mates, when it comes to many of our decisions. Take them seriously, absolutely. But maybe with some of Robert Frost's sense of humor. This is an expansive world of possibilities, many of which we can't control or foresee. It's probably healthiest for us to just take what we discern to be the next right step, knowing we'll never have the chance to compare it to steps not taken, knowing life is so much bigger, so much more shapely than we tend to realize. In closing, I think one of the fundamental tasks of religious community is to help one another get over ourselves. Get over ourselves. And to get a quick dose of holding it lightly, it helps me to take in an expansive view, like the one you landed on whatever one you landed on in our meditation. For me, it's the Grand Canyon. And sometimes it's the infinity of this mural behind me. Gives me that expansiveness, one of the things I love about our community. Take in a good dose of that, however you can. And then listen in your life for how much gas you need, how much clutch you need, and move forward. Let the people say amen. Amen. Please rise in body and or in spirit to hum with me and Nick our closing hymn, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
My life flows on in endless song, a barbarous lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars, I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, and thoughts to them are winging. When friends my shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Beautifully done. Please remain standing while Nick extinguishes our chalice, and speak with me the words in our order of worship. Our service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. The chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion. Whether you're here in Unity Hall or at home, please join in a gesture of reaching out to one another. Let us go forth with our sharp wits about us and with the humility that the larger view always provides. And just as long as we have breath, let us answer yes to life. Let the people say amen. Amen. Please be seated for announcements.
First announcement is from Sally McGee. Come on up, Sally.
Good morning. My name's Sally McGee. I'm the president of All Souls Board of Trustees. Before I dig in, I just want to give a big thanks to Perry Montrose for his tremendous effort to restore the classrooms from their completely unstable state. If you were here last week, you saw everything piled up in the middle of the rooms for painting. Perry was here until 11 o'clock on Friday night, getting everything back in order and ready for today. So he's not here, he's with all the kids, but just a big thanks to Perry. So the board had our semi-annual retreat on September 10th. One of the big things we discussed was the capital campaign and the building project. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about this morning. The capital campaign has continued over the past 18 months, and of course the building project has largely been on hold. It's been encouraging, though, to see your contributions continue to come in, even while we haven't been together physically in this building that we all want to improve. The board at our retreat talked about the extremely challenging time we're living in, the continued pandemic, economic uncertainty, social unrest, challenges to democracy, climate change, just to name a few highlights. All of this, though, adds up to a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So despite all of this, we have taken care of some elements of the building project. Your feet are on one of them. New carpet, new paint, which was much needed after 14 years of vigorous use, and a significant improvement to the kitchen. We've also paid off our mortgage balance, which was $310,000, and we are currently mortgage-free. In terms of money in the bank, we have about $540,000 in the capital campaign account, and another $230,000 still pledged. So, what's the best approach to our capital project in this very different and challenging time? That's the question that the board discussed and that the congregation needs to answer. At our retreat, the board talked about building needs, which have been long identified, a community room, improved traffic flow, completing the new kitchen, and adding meeting and classroom space. We anticipate these are likely still congregational priorities. But the challenge now is that we've been out of the building for 18 months. Thank goodness we're back in. 18 months, though. Our congregation and the social, political, and economic environment have changed in ways that we don't fully understand yet. Banks are more conservative in their lending practices than they were 2 years ago, and the cost of construction has increased significantly. And there remains the coronavirus threat. So considering these circumstances, the board discussed what may be the best path forward, including the process for congregational discussion. Where the board landed in our discussion is that we're suggesting that effort and energy in the short term focus on the congregation's immediate needs, those being reconnecting and reestablishing who we are in this different and rapidly changing world, focusing on worship, faith formation for children and adults, and other programming that connects us to each other and the wider world. And we're leaning toward also delaying the building project until we know what the congregation needs in this new and very different time. Construction costs have stabilized, and the pandemic has lessened significantly. The board is also wary of taking a mortgage right now, considering our current financial situation. And to be clear, we are in very good shape financially, and that is in part because we are not carrying a mortgage. All of this means that the board is leaning toward delaying major capital improvements for another year. And we want to hear your response to this thinking. So to that end, there will be a town hall meeting on October 17th after the church service. There'll be lots of ways for people to participate, in person, online, in writing. And in the meantime, please contact me or any board member, there are several here today, to share your thoughts on these ideas. So the bottom line is the board feels that what matters most right now are people and our ability to reconnect and reestablish ourselves as a community. Thank you for listening and for your partnership.
As always, we thank you for your support of this congregation. You may give your offering in the baskets on the way out or through Venmo or mailed check. I received this from Perry this morning. Join us for Adult Faith Formation book discussion on Imani Perry's powerful reflection, chosen as the 2020-21 UUA Common Read. Following All Souls services on September 26th and October 3rd, there will be an in-person and Zoom option, facilitated by Judy Behan, with collaboration from Maggie and Chris Cluette. Please sign up so we know numbers. To sign up or for questions, faithformation@allsouls.net. Again, faithformation@allsouls.net. The book can be purchased at the UUA bookstore or Bank Square Books. Also, please place in the baskets your survey cards for the Sharing Circle team. And at the close of Gary's postlude, please hold for a moment to let parents and caregivers step out to pick up their children in faith formation. And then we'll all make our way outside for fellowship and conversation. Those with us online, we hope you can make the Zoom coffee hour after the postlude. The link will be posted in the chat. Next week service is at 10 a.m. Reverend Mark Roble will be preaching. Faith formation is at 10 a.m. Children who are attending faith formation will be going directly to class and do not need to be signed up in Worship Sign Up Genius. And this is on a personal one. Friday Night Folk resumes back here at All Souls Friday. Woo! September 24th with the Plywood Cowboy. If you heard them a couple years ago, they performed when we were temporarily at Temple Emmanuel, a very talented group. Call the office to reserve a seat. Seating is limited. Please do it soon. Black Lives Matter Witness continues on Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Now, let's relax and enjoy Gary's postlude.
Everyone have a beautiful Sunday. We will make our way out to this gorgeous day. Take care.